What's good, beautiful people? I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So, over the past couple of days and weeks, I've been looking at multiple different CVs aiming to help project professionals improve their opportunities in terms of getting their next contract or next job role. And upon speaking to other friends who are recruiters and all this kind of stuff there, I've realized there are certain things that we're not doing right, okay? There's certain basics that we're not collecting. So the things that I'm noticing include things like number one, just presentation style. Now, of course, you'll see like the world of AI is trying to basically grab job seekers' attention by saying, hey, you can jump on our website and we'll produce you multiple different types of CVs that look all of these weird and wonderful ways. As much as some of these CVs are very glamorous, I can tell you, being in a hiring manager position over a number of different roles, we don't really care about all of that stuff. We're not like, oh, this is a nice looking CV in that way. It just needs to be legible, clean, and concise. So if any of these AI software places or whatever it may be are offering these types of CVs, unless, and there's a caveat to this, and I have to highlight these caveats, I don't want to just bash these organizations, unless it is going direct to the recruiter and you know they're directly going to hand it to the hiring manager, which in many cases you won't know unless it's nepotism to a degree, then you're wasting your time with having a fancy looking CV. So I would say avoid that and stick to simplicity. Okay. Again, these same sort of like AI organizations and companies do offer the more simplistic approach. So I'll focus on that. And this is because you want to make sure that it's ATS friendly. I forget what the ATS stands for, but essentially it is if your CV is going through any sort of job board or anything like that, the AI or algorithms can easily read and extract the information that it needs to extract if it is going via that route. And many of you are going to be using that stuff, whether it's Read, Indeed, JobServe, places like CV Library, and other areas where this may be happening. And of course, you don't want to just rely on job boards. You do want to speak directly to the recruiters. But even then, they're trained to see CVs a certain way. And they may put it through their systems as well. In fact, they're likely going to put it through their systems because it helps them organize and position you in certain categories when they feel like they need to make some money off you. Okay, so bear this in mind. Simplicity is key. And what I specifically mean by that is you need to make sure that you've got wide margins, you got a simple name at the top with your information. You don't have to have your address. Some people like to have their address, telephone number, email, and LinkedIn profile link. And then you've got your profile, okay, which is, let's say, 4 to 5 lines, basically highlighting what your expertise is, key sort of like skills that really allow you to stand out, really quick, snappy examples or achievements that show how you deliver what you deliver, and essentially the type of environments that you're in, and then also what you're specifically looking for. And then next section, you may have something like expertise or key achievements. Any of those is perfectly fine. If you don't feel like you have any key achievements, which you should do, then you can do expertise, which is really highlighting like key skills or competencies that you want to highlight, okay, or showcase. And usually this is aligned to some sort of key benefit or achievement, okay? Now remember, with your achievements, they need to be tangible, okay? So did you make money, save money? Did you improve something percentage wise? Was there an output that came out from it? Was there customer survey feedback or scores that was developed, like an NPS score or 5-star rating or whatever it may be? Highlight that stuff. And then obviously you got your key skills section, which is roughly, let's say, 8 skills, 8 core skills aligned to the role that you're looking for that is edified, okay? And it's just literally those skills. So for example, it could be program management, or it could be workflow optimization, or it could be whatever it is, okay, whatever makes sense for you. And then following on from that, you want to have your experience, your relevant experience, okay, where you may have something like, I've advised some people where they may highlight what the problem is or what the scope is or whatever it may be, which is specifically highlighting what they came in to do, okay, or what their problem statement is, because people think in terms of problems, like, how are you going to help me solve my pain? Okay, so that's one way to look at it. And then you have the bulleted list that looks at actions, okay, responsibilities, accountabilities, and you're using I think is it adjectives? Is that the right term? Or adverbs? I don't even remember. But you're using words, yeah, that essentially describe and highlight what you did. So did you lead? So led. Did you deliver? So delivered. Did you manage? Manage. Did you facilitate? Did you orchestrate? Of course, you don't want to have, words used again and again and again, but you want to use these words in the past tense to highlight what you did. Okay? In a logical flow, in a logical order, aligns to a methodology that makes sense to the role that you're talking about. And this is why I talk about PAR. I say this in every video, okay? But I'm not going to talk about it too much here. And then afterwards, you may highlight one line that shows your key achievement, a tangible one, a measurable one. Because let's think about it like this. Do you know how hard it is to measure your achievements? Yeah, some of you are like, yeah, it's damn hard. So if people are able to highlight that and then talk on it in the interview, that person is special. I could say a whole bunch of jokes there, but I'm not going to before someone. It's like, oh no, he's saying something that's not PC, but they're special indeed. And I've done that stuff. Okay, I've done that stuff because I know it makes me stand out. I know that there are other consultant-esque type individuals who have done the same thing. I've seen multiple examples of this again and again and again on different marketplaces, and people that I talk to and recruiters that I speak to, and how my CV has been optimized in the past and all that kind of just, I've like collected all this information to understand that's the way you do it. And sometimes the hiring manager doesn't even know that's what they're looking for. But when they see it, they're like, yeah, this stands out. I actually want to ask this person more. And it can't be done in a egotistical fashion. It needs to feel like it actually happened. This is why the believability from the top all the way down to the bottom needs to make sense. Anyway, you got your relevant experience. You may have career breaks, so you highlight career breaks, okay, in a separate section. Doesn't have to be a whole song and dance. If they interview you, then they can ask you questions in relation to that. And then you have additional experience, which is literally the year that you worked, or the years, should I say, the actual role. And then also you've got the organization, just bullet points. You don't need to talk about what you actually did, especially if it's past 10 years. In fact, just keep it as minimal as possible. And then, and this is very much sort of like up to you if you think this is necessary, you want to include any sort of additional volunteer things that you want to talk to. Now, I personally do this, but I'm doing this just to highlight certain skills that I have. And I talk about my sort of my governance experience. So this is centered around being a trustee. And I was also on the parish council at my previous church as well. And again, I spoke about different elements surrounding strategy, finance, risk management, and what's the other one? Succession planning as well. All obviously in different guises, but it was just to show a different side to me. Again, you don't have to add that section at all. It depends what your portfolio career looks like. But what you do definitely need to add is an education section, which highlights your formal education if you have that. So that's, for example, standard, sort of A levels and or GCSEs. And then the vocational ones, which I believe are a bit more important. So this is your Prince 2, PMP, your ITIL, all of these different stuff that essentially show that, yeah, you are an expert in these areas. Like, you've actually had that type of training. And don't just write, MSP and then that's it. Say what type of MSP it is, foundational practitioner. Some of you guys are not going to do that because you're like, okay, I don't want them to know that I've just done foundation. It's perfectly fine. If you want to add that, it's not totally necessary, but it's a nice touch. If you do have the practitioner, you write practitioner, and you say who the provider was, okay? Because I know someone like me, I may be like, this person's chatting. If I'm looking for the right person, I want to know certain things are patterns, Do I care if someone's foundational practitioner? Not really. I'll be honest with you, I don't. I care more that they actually did that whole program and they passed the exam, okay? Now, the exam doesn't show necessary competence, but the fact you went through that whole process, it should insinuate that you have knowledge of what the frameworks and methodologies look like, okay? That was supposed to be only one point, but I said so many different stuff. What else have I picked up? Spelling and grammar. That, I'm sorry, use the right tense. If you're going to use past tense, use past tense. Don't use other tenses. Don't repeat the same words again and again and again. It shows a lack of creativity. And I know this sounds like, is it that deep? it does become deep because I don't think people are thinking, especially if they're reviewing your CV, oh, there's a lack of creativity. I think what they're thinking, oh, they've repeated words, and then it feels like they've run out of things to say, which I know is not necessarily true. How many times can you say led? Facilitated, orchestrated, delivered, managed. Managed sounds a bit more subservient to led. Spearheaded, that sounds like over the top and very chat GPT. Like, what do you actually say? Do you know what I mean? So I get that argument, but try is what I'm saying, okay? And I think people can see when you've tried. So I've spoken about aesthetics, I've spoken about format, I've spoken about structure, I've spoken about grammar. I've spoken about AI and stuff like that. I think with the AI element, this is me not saying that you shouldn't invest or pay for some of these services. I do think they're good. I haven't used them personally myself. I have used things like ChatGPT to help brainstorm and orchestrate, CVs and all that kind of stuff there, but I've never relied on it because every single time it produces something, it doesn't hit the money. So this is why I'm saying you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're talking about. Just because ChatGPT has made it sound good, how do I know it aligns to what a hiring manager wants if I wasn't a hiring manager or if I didn't really understand the industry that I'm applying for? And this is where I come back to understanding the methodologies and frameworks aligned to what you're looking for. Because when you understand that stuff, then you know what language to use. You know, if I don't see anything centered around, let's say, for example, governance or risk and issues management or budget allocations or anything centered around controls and assurance or stakeholder engagement, and you're applying for a program manager position, then I can't rate it. I can't rate it at all because it's like you're not even playing the game of keywords, let alone stringing together something that is coherent and logical based on what makes sense for me in the environment that I expect you to work in. You know, so you have to think like this. Why am I saying all of this stuff? I've been talking about portfolio careers, i.e., a career that you create as opposed to one that you follow. And what I call the whale is essentially a role or a profession or a job that you're doing that generates the majority of your income. It takes up the most of your time. So for me, it would be program management, independent consultant. Okay. That takes up the most of my time, but I do additional things. But you have to be in a position where you can get that whale because that whale will fund everything else that you want to do. So the CV becomes important. And obviously, the natural next progression is the interview. And then the interview leads to the job. And then the job leads to opportunities. And those opportunities leads to the life that you want to create. So CV is important. You can't underlook it. It is your marketing tool. It is the thing that you need to make sure that is on point. Question, do you just have one? No. Some people might say, no, you don't just have one. You don't. You have to be strategic about it. Some people may be in positions where they track which positions they apply for in a table somehow, status, who the hiring managers are, the recruiters, all of that kind of stuff there. Yep, that's a great way to do it, but that feels long. But it probably feels long because some of you just go to quick apply or easy apply. And then are you going to track everything afterwards? Well, if the mentality is quick or easy apply, then not necessarily. The people who usually land the roles, the ones who have had the conversation with the recruiter, usually, unless you have an outstanding CV and you applied pretty early on. Now, there's a question that's popped up in my mind. Does speed bias play a part when it comes to sort of being successful for interview? I low-key think it does, but I don't have any sort of like evidence to suggest that. I can only go based on what I feel. Okay, on what's happened to me being on the other side looking at CVs coming in. So what I mean by speed bias is if someone applies like early on, okay, but and they have a really good CV, do they have bias over somebody who has a CV very similar to them or even potentially even better? Yeah, potentially, because I've had more time to think about this individual. I don't even know who they are. But because they presented something to me on time, I'm heightened. I've just sent the job ad on the marketplace or whatever it may be, and this has popped up. Yeah, there's a bit of job bias. So having some sort of alert alerting system or someone telling you when roles are available or ready to apply for is going to be crucial and key. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think there is. I mean, there's this whole talk about, do you add references available upon request? I don't think anyone really cares. I mean, if they want to ask for a reference, they'll ask for a reference. So whether you put it there or not, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a red flag or a green flag. I think that's it for now. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of. But yeah, this was a random, spontaneous video because I've been looking for a number of this stuff and I thought I would just share my knowledge. Why not? If you would like my CV writing template, then you can check out the link below. If you would like me to produce a new CV for you and also optimize your LinkedIn, then again, there should be a link below where we can get that sorted and get that started, and I'll be able to deliver that for you aligned to what you're looking for. I typically work with individuals within the project and program space, okay, or at least similar to that. And again, you can try your luck. If it works, then again, I'll say yes, I can do this. If it doesn't, then I'll say no, I can't. It's that simple. Anyway, if you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers and everything else, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.